ignore that. And
That's
it
a
never
little
goes,
unfortunate, but
yeah,
it's not enough to make me stop right now.
yeah. Like
It's
I
like if you
really,
could
really,
imagine it as like like a vial, and it's like your affection for it fills the vial, and then when they do something weird, it empties it a little bit. And so
yes,
you're like, ah, this is really great, and then they do something weird, and you're like, ah, maybe, and then they do more great stuff, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
we'll let that
Time
one
to
slide,
time,
but don't let it happen
exactly.
again.
Please. But hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boys, and we are back after our training arc. Not really, I had a lot of technical difficulties, but we're back from our training arc with the next episode of DNAnime podcast. This is episode 48. Yeah, that works. It is I, Beautiful Crow, with my co-host, Vic Seal, and we are back to talk about some hot anime topics this week. I'm actually very excited because obviously we've been going for a couple of weeks. To kind of explain it a little bit before we get into the meat of the podcast, I built a new PC over the course of these past couple of weeks, and I just kind of ran into a couple of technical issues. So I was kind of out of commission for a while. On top of that, just had some other stuff going on, but we are back. We are back and better than ever. Hopefully, you guys have been ready. It's been a massive season this past couple of months for anime. I mean, we had Solo Leveling, we had ReZero Season 3. There's a lot of banger Sakamoto days. Like, there's a lot of good stuff, and a lot of it is grinding down. And I feel like we're about to hit the calm before the storm of whatever is going to be coming out in the next season. But Vix, how have you been in this little hiatus?
I have been holding in my topic conversations for 3 weeks, waiting for the opportunity to come back to the podcast. Because of course, my most notable one is going to be, it had to happen like right after you disappeared. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I hope it comes back to the next one. And then the next episode of that same anime came out and it kept going. And I was like, oh no, I have to talk about it. Hot topic of the week, Zenshu. Let's talk about Zenshu. At episode 9, it got interesting. Finally. It pulled it. I think it pulled itself out of the okayest category. As of episode 9 and on, I think I would be way more willing to watch Zenshu than like Osan, like how we compared them before. Zenshu had like I wouldn't say it was like a super unique one, like it's almost certainly been done before, but it felt good. It was like the whole time you were sitting there like, this again. And then episode 9 happened, and I was like, wait, this is pretty good. And then I was like kind of on the edge of my seat a little bit, and I was like, oh shit, everybody's dying. And I was like, this is the original plot to A Tale of Perishing, which was the failing anime within the show. And I was like, oh, they're going back to the original storyline, but the characters that were in the original storyline were dying in a different order in other people's places. So like, if the unicorn was supposed to die at the very beginning in a certain way, and had like a funeral that was held in his honor, but this time it was the weird little robot that died in a different way, but still had funeral. So they started like mixing the story up at the same time as like going back to the basic one. And now I don't think I saw the last episode yet. Did I? Yes, I did see it. The last episode, it has finally wrapped up, and they had like this is after the last episode kind of deal. And so the last 3 episodes were like really intense compared to like beforehand, where it was just like, oh, Natsuko is just gonna draw something OP and just win all the time. And then it was either episode 8 or episode 9 that they introduced it, but it started to like take her own drawings and basically turn them evil. And then it went against them. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting, because the bad guy was like the bad guy was the story itself. And so the director of the original story it made sense that they could just take those drawings and make them evil again. And I was like, this kind of cool. And then they eventually like speared back to the original story point, and then ended up going past it. So the final ending happened normally, but had the extra little bit now, which was episode 12. And they just like No such thing as bad endings around here, partner.
So I was going to ask because when we last talked about Zenshu, you were talking about how the character, I'm guessing is because the character that the main character was talking to, that was the director, right? Like,
yeah, the weird bird thing.
Yeah. And then they were like, I've tried to reset this all the time. It's like pretty much Undertale story.
It was kind of funny because the weird bird lady, at least in the Japanese dub or sub, she just keeps saying it's no use. But in Japanese, it's like muda dayo, and that's just like all she would say. And she would just like fly away and then say it again, and then she would fly back and say it again. And I was it wasn't annoying, but I was like, it's so weird to just hear the one line repeated all the time. But it wasn't annoying, and I was like, that's kind of surprising that I'm not just like, shut up, you stupid bird.
Giving me Sonic 06 flashbacks.
And then the crazy part was like, while she was flying around, just like repeatedly saying it's no use, because like as an anime like vet watcher, you're like, of course it is. Like, you're just gonna swap things around, like it just always happens. And then you start to like rapidly see the story like shoehorn its way back into the original storyline, and you're like, oh damn, it is kind of like no use at this point. And then like all of everybody's emotional trauma situations emerge in a different way. Like the main dude in the original story, he fell into despair because the character Destiny, as the character's name, was like killed, but she lives in the new storyline. So the thing that sent him into despair was the death of the main character, Natsuko. So he believed that she was dead and then fell into despair and ultimately finished the story in that way. But then Destiny, who was still alive, who was like, this was a little weird. Like, it just looked weird. It just didn't look like it matched right. Destiny, who was still alive, was like giga buff, right? Because she was like after Servo Tiger. And so they had this Servo orphanage. And then randomly, right before everything started falling back to the original storyline, she's like in her regular getup, where she was essentially being a political wife to some snobby aristocrat who had like 30 wives. And so she just got like shoved back into that, but she was still like giga buff. And I was like, this is like a clash of characters right now. So it was kind of funny. I think it was well written at the end. The beginning, you kind of got boring, especially since like you didn't really know what was to be expected. Like, you thought that it was just gonna be generic anime route where they're just like, yeah, the hero saves everybody, and then they go like back into the ending of despair, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, something's a little different here. One of these things is not like the others, and one of these things is dead. Well, everybody's dead. So
then, okay, so you said that it's no longer the okayest anime. Would you feel comfortable recommending Zenshu? Because I know obviously the animation has always been on point since the beginning of it, because it's Mappa, but the story just wasn't anything super duper interesting. Now with the conclusion of the season, I would probably
recommend it. Like, if I would probably still put it in the if you don't have anything to watch, it's a good one to get to. But I wouldn't be like, man, drop everything you got and go check it out right now. I give it like probably like an 8.5 out of 10. I'd be like, hey, if you aren't watching anything and you're like, you want something that's like not super different but does have a nice little like organic twist in the middle, then yeah, Zenshu's probably pretty good. Like, Osan was landed right, solid okayest anime of all time, and then like had one good episode that balanced it out. And Zenshu was okay at the beginning, so you didn't like hate it or anything, so you're just kind of like vibing with it. And then towards the end, you just like, it's more of edge of your seat for like 3 episodes, which felt pretty good to just like have it play. So I would probably, if someone was like, should I'd be like, yeah, you should. I definitely don't have anything. I would tell you, be like, hey, watch out. They're gonna do like repeated usage of her drawing animation, but they like slightly adjust it each time. So like they have if you watch the PV, you saw her like fall into the rainbow void and then have like the magic marks on her face and then flip the pages up. She does that every single time, and then right after that it's slightly different where she has to like draw more or it takes longer. Finally at the end, at first I was like, this is ridiculous, because like who is not going to just like stop that, right? If somebody just like drops a magic desk out of the sky in the middle of the desert and like is just an illuminated beacon, that's usually a pretty good indication that you don't want that to happen. So like somebody should just stop that. And I was like, they just kind of left her alone for the longest time. And there's the little robot dude, QJ. They kind of like show him as just like a radar where he's just like, yeah, you know, there's voids around. That's like his deal. He tells you that. And every time they tell him to like guard Natsuko, and you're like, how are you going to do that? You're like just a little dude, like just a guy. And then he's got like little lasers and you're like, nah, they ain't even coming over there. Don't lie. Everybody over here spouting magic, dragons flying around, and he's like shooting rubber bands at people. And you're like, this isn't. But he's still an interesting character. Like, I think they're all pretty interesting in their own rights. There's a bunch of like little things that I could probably be like, oh, that's kind of annoying, like how I used to mention before, whereas the beginning didn't make a lot of sense, the route that it took, and then some things just didn't add up visually, like Justice not being able to fly and nobody knew about it because her wing was like all black, and I was like, there's no way that you just wouldn't know that. And then eventually she was just like able to fly again, and you're like, what? But if you just pull the, well, it's anime, it's whatever card, then you can kind of let it go, and it's all right, because it doesn't hurt anything really to have it like that. It's a little weird that you're like, man, you should see that. But at the same time, you're like, all right, fine, so be it. I'll accept it. It doesn't hurt the story at all, really. It doesn't like turn any characters in a way that they shouldn't. I guess it does a little bit, because they should just like not hate her, because they can obviously tell. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, like, scars happen. Maybe that they just thought it was like a scar, and they're like, well, get over it kind of deal. So I guess I'll accept it. I'll take it. It wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, the ending definitely came back around and pulled it out of the like 6 to 7 rating and pushed it up to like an 8.5. I think, in my opinion, I think it's pretty good. Would recommend it now.
Here first, Zenshu got the DNAnime seal of approval. Just stamp it.
But yeah, I did also. It's funny. I did also keep up with some manga as well. Not everything. Yeah. But have you been able to keep up with anything in your like hiatus?
I mean, so manga wise, I've been able to keep up with DNAnime. I've been reading DNAnime. I'm up to date. This doesn't have much to do with the manga currently, but I will say I honestly kind of am mad that, this is going to sound bad, but I'm kind of mad that DNAnime's gotten popular a little bit. And I'm not saying that because I'm no flannel wearing, curly mustache having hipster.
Finger waving.
Because again, I really like DNAnime. I really, really enjoy DNAnime. We have really commiserated over this podcast about our love of DNAnime. The first season of anime is done, and I feel like a lot of people got a chance to get interested in the anime and really, really like DNAnime. But the things that we talk about on the podcast, where it's like, here's our caveat. Episode 1 has this in it. The last episode of the season has that in it. That's a little uncomfortable, that they have those scenes in it, but DNAnime's really good. Please give it a try, right? And obviously, I've been seeing a lot of discourse online about those scenes in DNAnime, and I mean, there's no defending it. I'm not like, that shit gotta be in the show. You know what I mean? But it's just, as a veteran anime fan, you kind of just have to be like, whatever, I'll ignore that. And
that's a little unfortunate, but it's not enough to make me stop right now. Yeah, it's like if you could imagine it as like a vial, and it's like your affection for it fills the vial, and then when they do something weird, it empties it a little bit. And so you're like, this is really great, and then they do something weird, and you're like, maybe, and then they do more great stuff, and you're like, okay, we'll let that one slide, but don't let it happen again,
please. But then the anime community this is where my little my issue comes from, because the anime community is just known for highlighting those elements. And I feel like it just makes us as anime fans look terrible. Because why do people talk about Goblin Slayer so much? Goblin Slayer is not a good anime. It is whatever.
I mean, it might be good for some people. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, whatever. Enjoy it, whatever. But it's brought up way more than it should be when there's actually good stuff to watch. And people always talk about the first episode. Like, even people who don't even watch anime, they're just like, "Ooh, I heard about Goblin Slayer. What about Goblin Slayer episode 1?" You know, and they're just like, we don't need to keep bringing that up. You know what I mean? That's weird. And people are doing that a lot with DNAnime. So I've been keeping up with DNAnime, and as you know, I don't know if you're up to date, but there's a current story arc where they're going around trying to find a character that's causing issues in the school. And there's a teacher that's being a little creepy. You know what I mean? And I won't go into anything because I don't want to do any spoilers, but I'm starting to see a lot of content creators online really hammer in on this story arc, where it's kind of a little bit more of that weirdness of DNAnime. You know, very sexual part of DNAnime is kind of being shown. And again, it never oversteps that boundary to the point of like it being like, you know, this is way too far. Like, it gets weird, you know, at some points. Like, I will say the Momo stuff in the bathhouse in season 1 of DNAnime, yeah, that's weird. You know what I mean? And I will never be like, yeah, you are. Actually, that need to be in the story. But I can like look past it, like we said earlier. But the fact that people go out of their way to just be like, I need to talk about this or need to highlight this stuff is like, no. We need to talk about how that's stuff that we shouldn't be seeing, and hopefully they'll get rid of that stuff. Because like, as an anime fan, it was the reason why I didn't read Undead Unluck when it first dropped. Because I try to keep up to date whenever they're showing like a new manga. Like, oh, it's a new pilot of a manga, like Martial King, when we read that. I try to keep up with everything just to see what new stuff is coming out to maybe catch something, you know, at the ground floor. So I did that with Undead Unluck, and like literally all he's doing is just grabbing Fuko and touching her. And I'm just like, what is this? But because of that, you know, that sentiment that a lot of people had, and I guess the mangaka not wanting to actually have that in there, that I guess his editor was like, yo, you gotta have this in here to titillate the you know, the fan base. And then they got rid of that like after chapter 4, and I was just like, oh, this is like one of the best mangas that's come out in the last decade. And I love Undead Unluck now. I want people to enjoy DNAnime and not have to go into it with a bunch of asterisks or have to be like, oh, trigger warning for all these traumatic things that's going to happen.
DNAnime's weird enough that I think we would have had to give it a asterisk anyway.
It would be fun.
Yeah, but they would be like, they'd be like, hey man, when the house turns into, I don't know, a spaceship or whatever, just kind of let it happen. Those are the fine ones.
That's fine. I would be ecstatic to be able to tell people like, hey guys, watch DNAnime. Realistic Obama is in it. You know what I mean? Like, that would be fun because people would be like, what? And it was like, that's DNAnime. There's breakneck speed. It's all kind of crazy things happen. House gonna turn into a Gundam. They fighting Godzilla. It's insanity. Like, that's fun. I don't want to be like, hey man, you might have a traumatic response watching this. You know what I mean? Like, that's not fun. That's not fun to talk about. So, you know, I feel like we don't need to be, as a fan base, we shouldn't be highlighting these elements and be like, haha, shock value. Let's talk about it. You know, I get it. Obviously, with content creators, you got to have clickbait and stuff like that to get people, you know, to click or whatever. But I just think that we should be better, man. I love DNAnime. It's incredibly good. If you gave it a chance and you dropped it, I would say try to give it another shot. If you did watch it, I'm sure you probably understand where we're coming from, where it's like DNAnime is really good, really fun, with a lot of amazing characters, heart, and fantastically written romance all the way through. I think it's worth watching. I've been really, really enjoying it, and it's good to be caught back up. Outside of that, manga-wise, I'm still working my way through Undead Unluck, Sakamoto Days. Again, Sakamoto Days is one of the animes from this current season. I've been really enjoying it. There's a lot of think pieces on Sakamoto Days as well. I don't know if you've seen any of it, because I know it's on Netflix for you, yeah. But the main talking point a lot of people are saying is that, you know, if you're a manga fan of Sakamoto Days, the art style is great. It's not Dr. Stone, like, amazing, or One Punch Man amazing, but it has a certain charm to it. Like, because when you see Sakamoto Days, it's very comedy-driven at first. Now it's getting more into, like, the lore and everything of the Hitman Association and the main bad guys. Okay, Vix. So the main bad guy group, you want to know what their name is? I don't know if you read Sakamoto Days.
I do not. I don't know anything about Sakamoto Days.
The main bad guy group is called Slur. So every time I read it, it's like, oh man, he's a hitman for Slur. And I was like, oh.
They're just censoring it out.
What are they saying over there? He's like, yeah, we kill people with slurs. But no, Sakamoto Days is really good. So the anime dropped. I believe the first season is either wrapping up or done. I haven't been able to keep up with it as much because it is on Netflix. and I don't have Netflix right now. But it's been really, really good. But the main topic of discussion has been the animation. Because Sakamoto Days, like the manga looks really, really cool, and there's a lot of cool moments in it. But the animation isn't Jujutsu Kaisen, and we talked about it in the past. I think the animation is fine. I think the animation is good, is solid. It's just like a really, really good, basic anime for this. No, I wouldn't say basic, but it's just good animation.
Not everything has to be generationally defining,
Yeah. Like, not everything got to be JJK. Not everything got to be Mashoko Tensei or ReZero. Like, those shows are, like, animated Frieren. Like, those are animated, like, with a huge, I don't know. I don't even know if it has a huge budget, but they're animated very well by very talented people in the studio. Where I feel like Sakamoto Days is, like, really, really good, like, the best episodes of Fairy Tail. Like that kind of animation. Where it's not bad. It's solid, it's fun, the fights are interesting, the fights are a good time, it's flashy, the characters are great, the comedy's still really, really good, the voice acting is great. I just think it's like a good, solid, fun 7 out of 10, anime. And I've been really enjoying it so far. I'm not all the way done just yet. I've been catching what episodes I can, but I had to stop because I was like, I'm not paying for Netflix right now. So they bring back Tiger King. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, so Sakamoto Days has been really good. But the one that I really wanted to talk about, which is the one that I was kind of sad that I was, sans a PC, but I wanted to talk about ReZero. ReZero just finished. Before we ended with the last podcast, you were telling me about the gorgeous tiger fight with Garfield. And I was like, I love Garfield. Obviously, in this current season of ReZero, he's been going through a lot of trials and tribulations, dealing with the trauma of fighting, what's her name, Elsa? Whatever
what are you talking about?
Like that. The girl who like cut people guts open from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
the
she
show.
kept coming up, and I was not gonna lie to you, I don't remember why that was happening, so I just kind of like let it happen. And I was like, I'm sure there's significance there. So
glad I'm not the only one, because I was like, why is he so? Why is he like imagining her? I was like, is she
yeah, I
even
was like,
dead?
I don't remember. I remember him like being the answer that Subaru came up with in that part, which was like season 1 or season 2. Like, I remember them fighting, and I was like, I don't remember why he's like so I won't say infatuated with, but like she's like landed in his head somehow. And I was like, what was the entire time I was like, what was the draw? Like, I don't remember why she's so important. And I was like, I just let it happen. And I was like, I know this is important, so something is gonna happen with this. And I was like, the origin, I guess, doesn't matter that much. And I was like, I'll know when something happens with it that it will be important. And something happened with it, and I was like, there it is. I knew it.
it was sick. So like, I didn't remember, and I know there was like a huge time gap. What was like 6 years between season 1 and season 2 of ReZero? There was like a huge like gap of time, and so I kind of forgot a lot of stuff that happened in season 1. So I was kind of like revisiting some of the earlier episodes, or I would like listen to videos, people talking about the seasons, to kind of like recap for myself, to get refreshed. And I did go back to watch the fight between her and Garfield, and they have that whole moment where she's like, I love you. And he was like, wait, what? And it's really funny because she's like monologuing, talking about how much she loves Garfield, and how she like her backstory, how she was a kid and how she was on her own, and she had to like stop some dude from trying to take advantage of her, so she cut him open, and she's like all messed up and traumatized, but she loved the warmness of people's guts and whatever. Like, it was all weird. And it goes back to Garfield, and he's like, dude, I do not care, shut up. And he just like ready to fight her. It was really funny. But I think that moment really just got in his head. But for me, who like had that gap of time between season 2 and season 3, I was just like, is she like, did she possess him? Like, what happened? Like,
yeah, I was like, it's weird for him to just like have a hallucination for this random person. It's like, it's not like he's unfamiliar with combat, so it's not like his first takedown. So I was like, why is it so important?
Well, the thing that I liked about Garfield's character in this season is that he was very shook in confidence-wise. His whole thing was like, I am the boss's, Subaru's shield. I'm his weapon. I'm good at fighting. That's what I'm good about. But fighting her shook him, because he was just like, I don't know if I could have beat her. And then other things that happened during the season where he was with Philo, whatever, the like cat chick's little cat kid that was hanging out with him. She gets violently wounded, when he's dealing with the 2 corpse, swordsmen that they're fighting, which is the 8-arm guy and then the previous sword saint. Wilhelm's like wife, ex-wife, or whatever. Like the cat chick, she gets, I think her name's like Philo. I don't remember. I feel like that's from something else. But anyway, or is that no? Philo might be
Philo is the bird from Shield Hero. The cat.
Yeah, maybe
the cat is Mimi.
Mimi, whatever, the little cat girl. But yeah, she gets like stabbed, and so he's like his confidence is very shaken throughout this entire season.
Yeah, he got crippled after that one.
Yeah, and then after all of that, like he was like really, really, really like in a messed up place. But then, oh my god, I wish I could remember people's names, but the big like wolf dude.
I don't know his name. He's just some dude. I don't know his name.
Where did he come from? He's like, I'm just big cool.
Yeah, he acting like he's been a part of the crew for forever, and I'm like, who the are you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've missed out on so much stuff. But yeah, he like gives Garfield some words of encouragement. He's like, hey man, you lost, you messed up, it happens, but you got to pick yourself up, man, because all you can do is get back on there and get back to fighting, and then make up for whatever you missed out on previously. You fucked up in that fight. She got injured. They're healing her. She's alive. Do what you can do. Shit's dire. Because I mean, where they ended the first part of season 3, everything was bad. But they left it off on this like hopeful note with the Subaru speech. Everybody decided like somebody needs to make this speech on this megaphone to everybody in the city because everything's messed up. City's flooded. Everybody's worried. There's 1,000 Sin Archbishops of the Witch Coat there. Like everybody's there, and it's looking rough. And Subaru does the speech, and that's where the first part ends. And you're just like, all right, are they going to get Amelia back? Are they going to be able to beat anybody? Because the thing is, the weird thing and what I really love about ReZero is that it's an isekai where the main character isn't overpowered, but everybody else is around him. Because when you stack up Subaru to Al, to Reinhardt, to Julius, to any of the main enemies,
Reinhardt cracked me up when he came in and like Wilhelm was struggling both mentally and like physically against his like wife, and Reinhardt comes in and he's just like, nah, you a fake, and just one-shots her. I was like, oh my god, there was no hesitation. It was literally like a 3-second scene, and I'm like, what? He just got there. He's like, nah, you ain't real. Bah!
Reinhardt is such an interesting character because canonically he's the strongest person on the planet who could just get any ability that he wants at any time. And they do, I would say probably ReZero and One Punch Man are the two series that do overpowered characters very well. Because Reinhardt is incredibly strong, but then they show you the weaknesses of his strength. Like when they're fighting the Sin Archbishop of Wrath, and she's doing the whole speech, and just like, yeah, Reinhardt could one-shot her, but she's linked to everybody around. So it's just like, that's not the case. That's not what you should do. And then when they're fighting the Sin Archbishop of Greed, and it's just like, okay, Reinhardt could hit him really hard, but the guy's invincible. So how do y'all deal with that? So it's like Reinhardt is a weapon, and he's a very strong weapon, but they put him in situations where like strength isn't the option. And that's why I really like the relationship between him and Subaru, because he was like, yeah, I'm very strong, but Subaru, you have strengths that I don't have. You can think a different way. You look at the situations that we're in differently than anybody else in the world would be, because your perspective is so much different. They don't know that he's from another world. I don't think they do. I don't know if he said it.
I don't think so.
I think he's told like Rim and them. He's like, oh yeah, from a different whatever, but they just think he's from another country.
I think he told them and then died. So
maybe.
I don't think anybody knows.
But yeah, so they're just like, this guy always finds a way to solve it, and he shows that in the fight where him and Amelia are tagging against the Shin Archbishop of Greed, and that fight was really, really good. So I really like what they do with Reinhardt, and there's some really funny moments. 2 of them were in that one fight too, when Amelia is in the like chapel that they were going to use to get married to the Sin Archbishop of Wrath, because he was like, oh, not Wrath, but Greed, so he can have another wife. And they end the season with Subaru and Reinhardt kicking the doors in to be like, you making our entrance. And then the door that Reinhardt kicks goes flying and like almost kills Amelia and the Wrath dude or Greed. And Subaru's just like, dude, what the hell?
You can't kick the door in like that. You're making me look weak.
Yeah, like his door just opens and Reinhardt just goes flying 1,000 miles per hour. That was really good. And then when they're in the fight, and then Reinhardt just starts talking to Subaru telepathically, and he's like, "What is going on?" He's like,
"Oh yeah, I got this." He's like, "I just decided this was the power I wanted."
Like, it's so stupid, but it's so funny. And then Reinhardt gets taken out of that fight by getting kicked into space. And he comes back and he's like, "Oh, well, you should have kicked me away from the moon."
Yeah, it's like you made one mistake, and that was you kicked me at the moon. I was like, oh, of course it did.
Dude, I love him. I love him so much. But everything has been incredibly fun so far. I've been really, really enjoying it. I know the season just ended, but I'm very excited to watch the last 2 episodes, I believe. I'm really excited to watch it. But I will say the standout is the thing that I started this conversation talking about. It was the gorgeous tiger fight. So in the fight between Garfield and I don't remember his name, but the eight-armed
legend.
Yeah, the legend man from the ancient times. That fight was really, really cool. And obviously Garfield's having that crisis of confidence where he's just like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And he's visualizing old Guts Girl. But he overcomes his fears when he's knocked into one of these like sewer underpasses where a bunch of the civilians from the water city are hiding, and he meets his half siblings. And they're like, obviously trying to stay safe in this, tragedies going on in the city. And so he sees them, he's like, oh God, the kids are here, like I gotta fight this dude. And then they start talking to him, and there's like, oh, it's Gorgeous Tiger, because it kind of becomes like a superhero to the kids or whatever. And they start hyping him up, and Garfield overcomes his insecurities with his, inability to save people and how he felt like he wasn't strong enough. And I don't know what they fed them animators that day, but they went crazy. And I was
trying to tell you, I was like, man, you got to get back in and watch it,
dude. It was like
the choreography for that fight was like next level. Like, it was so perfect.
It was like a switch was flipped, because at first it was like standard ReZero animation. I was like, oh, I'm still hyped because I love ReZero. And then when Garfield was just like, I'm on it. And the whole like animation style changes.
It did the like dynamic camera movement. And...
like he was moving on demon time. Garfield was moving crazy fast. I didn't even realize that he had the ability to control Earth until that fight. I was like, oh, I guess this is the thing he can do.
I think he's done it before, but yeah, he's usually just like big strong man transform into tiger, stronger man. Yeah. And then he started whipping out the fucking Earth pillars, and I was like, wait, dude, I was like, wait, I don't remember this right now, but like I'm down.
It was so sick. And then you just watching him like tear through his like ligaments and like body and just ripping through his like skin, and you see bone. And then when when Garfield, there's 2 major points in that fight. When Garfield turned into a Crayola drawing, he was just like doing this crazy wombo combo through the water, lifting himself up with the rock pillars, hitting him, breaking his bones and joints and everything while he's fighting him, like breaking down each individual arm from the 8-armed swordsman. And then he like just exploded into like this Crayola drawing, and it was like, what is happening? And then when he went like demon mode, because he lifted himself up with an earth pillar, and he like rose right above the swordsman, and then you see like the tiger spirit burst out of him, his eyes were all red, and then he just like came up and just started like breaking all of his bones and stuff. I was like, what is happening right now? It was so sick. Like I said, the angles and the camera angles and everything were very dynamic. It was very fun, very flashy. Like you could kind of like, it was like incomprehensible, but you knew what was happening. Like it was just so much in such a short amount of time, where Garfield just let loose and got over everything and just got it done. And then having his siblings there and everybody else just like rooting and cheering for him as he just shows out, because Garfield was struggling in that fight, but he wasn't like heavily damaged. He wasn't like completely messed up. So it was just like watching him like really unleash and go crazy and show what he can do. It was so sick, dude. It was so sick. And then just having everybody there cheering him on. Like, that was like literally cinema. It was cinema.
Peak cinema.
It was so sick. Like, I don't. ReZero came out in a weird time, because again, there was a huge gap of time between season 1 and season 2. So whenever I think ReZero in my head, I think about Sword Art Online, because they kind of came out around the same time. But to even put ReZero in the same conversation as Sword Art Online is disrespectful. ReZero is so good. Story-wise, character-wise, animation-wise, intrigueness. I don't even know if that's a word, but it's so like, I'm so interested in where the characters are going and what's going to happen and how they get through these situations, because the odds seem so overwhelming. And we talked about Priscilla and the Bard girl, the songstress, fight against the Sin Archbishop of Wrath. how good that fight was and how like all these characters are overcoming these like insurmountable odds. But like I'm always just like, dude, they're getting taken through the ringer. How are they going to solve this issue? And they always like do it in such an interesting way, and all the characters are coming together, and everybody seems competent. Like nobody's like messing up, nobody's like fucking up. Like if they lose a fight or if they're struggling, you know, they try to rally or whatever. I really like that they're not using Subaru's return by death.
That's what I was about to say. I was waiting for him to like die at some point, especially with the damage that he has sustained. I was like, no, he's just gonna die like normally. And I was like, I'm just waiting for it. And then he's going to be like, okay, now I know what to do. Rally everybody. But he's just sitting there like torn to shreds, cursed, possessed, like basically missing a leg. And you're like, whoa, you're still alive? Like you didn't just like, he took that to heart when he found out there might be like other timelines, or like he's just jumping timelines instead of like actually resetting
the world.
I was like, oh, he's taking that to heart. Like he's not. He is on death's door right here for like 5 fights.
He is going through it. Like when they had the whole thing where the witch of lust or whatever, where she poisoned him and green haired girl, I don't remember nobody's name, with the dragon's blood. I for sure thought,
I want to know more about that, because this, I can't wait, because that was weird that not only was she basically like bedridden, like she got taken out of commission, and Subaru was like relatively okay. But not only that, but he can like fix it, sort of.
Out? Yeah.
But like taking it, and it's like that. I thought that was where he was gonna die, and because I was like, oh, he's gonna absorb the curse and it's gonna kill him, and I was like, ah. There it is. And then he stopped, and I was like, oh my god, he's more like, dead, but he's not dying. Like,
it's crazy because Subaru's whole thing is so weird because, well, one, he is playing his life now, which I really, really like, because he could just reset and just like, all right, let's fix this shit. But he's actually like trying to survive and live and figure out how to take care of everything. So it feels like it has stakes and has weight.
Yeah,
like
so he's even more of just a dude now than he was before.
But then he keeps getting bonuses because he lost his leg after fighting Lust. And then, you know, he got knocked out of the building with her, and they were like caught and stuck on the dragon while she was flying around. I was like, oh, for sure he's falling and dying. He's gonna hit his head on the rock, but he lives. And so I'm just like, what? And he grows his leg back, and I'm just like, what is going on? So he's like, he has Wolverine's healing factor, but only on his leg. So it's like he gets these abilities, but they all suck. So he's like, he has the unseen hand, and he's like, yeah, I can do it. And it comes into play this season where he uses the hand in an amazing way to, you know, handle the fight with Greed. But it's also just like, at the same time, it's like his abilities suck because the hand puts him out of commission. Sure, he can regenerate his leg, but it's just his leg. Look, any other part of him get hit and he'll die.
Yeah.
So it's like,
he's got a possessed leg. He's got a tummy ache for powers. He's got a possessed arm. None of them give him like strength or anything. He's just like, hey, you just don't die as fast, I guess.
So it's like he keeps getting these benefits, these boons, but they all come with like terrible drawbacks. terrible drawbacks. But I don't know what is.
Can't wait for the next season. Season 3, part 3. Let's go.
Right. This is season 3, part 3. They didn't resolve everything yet, I don't think. So yeah, I'm loving ReZero. If you guys are not caught up on ReZero, I wanted to keep it kind of like, you know, we talked about a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that we kept vague. There's a lot of interesting stuff that's going on. The animators are having a lot of fun with Lust. That whole weird, creepy scene where she was regenerating her head. She came out of rats and then regenerated, but she came back with skin eyes.
Oh my god, it was so unsettling, but I was like, it's so good. It was unsettling because they did it so well, and I was like, this is not the part where I want you to do really well. That's gross.
But yeah, ReZero has been phenomenal. So I was like waiting for a long time to talk about it. Because that gorgeous tiger episode was sick. It was so sick, dude. So sick. So I'm glad. And because I'm also like, I'm a fan, like just me personally. I know you talked about it in the past where you like the main characters or the characters that are like the heroes, the good guys who are trying to like save the day and do everything, like Bell from Danmachi, raise the counter. But I really like the hot-blooded like brawlers in anime, the Yusuke Urameshis, the Garfields, you know, like Dragon Ball Z characters in general. I like that, man. And I really like that because normally I feel like I feel like for the most part, the hot-blooded characters are always seen as like the idiots, and they always make mistakes. And they're just like, oh, you got to learn these lessons. But Garfield is a fantastic character. Like where he is hot-headed, and he will let his temper get a better of him. He has an amazing group of people around him that can check him and be like, no, man, like calm down. Or he'll even check himself. He's like, no, I got to be better for everyone because I don't want to be a liability. And I think that they've written him so well as a character that has like had substantial growth and real like resolution to his trauma, especially from like his childhood with his mother dying, but not being died, and then everything with him almost dying against the guts lady, and then also learning to trust and become like have this brothership with Subaru, where he just like run around and is like, hey boss, let's do this. Like Garfield he's one of my favorite characters in the show. He's amazing. And one thing, the last thing I would say on ReZero is I'm really interested to learn more about Al because
I feel like we're not going to. I also want to, but the way that he's like been designed, how he's responded to everybody else's questions, I feel like we're just not going to. And I feel like they're going to do that on purpose, where they're going to like bring it to the front and be like, hey, you're not going to find this out. And then they're going to like take him out of the story, and you're going to be like, that's BS.
No, because it's got to be some reason why he wears a helmet and not shows his face. Because they show like in this season, they show like little slivers of his face, but he's just like a guy, I guess. So I'm just like, I don't know what if you hide, like, it's just storytelling in general. If you're going to hide somebody's face, like, it's got to be something under there that's important. Either he's somebody important or he's going to be doing something interesting.
I was like, that's not necessarily true. Like, it could just be a face. Maybe he just likes wearing a helmet.
Why you like wearing a hat? Like, there's got to be something.
Hey, if I could just be like, what is the reason that Al wears the helmet? It's because Priscilla knocks the fuck out of him on the regular. That's why.
He doesn't wear armor. He got his whole titty out. Like, it's not for protection. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some reason why he's always wearing that.
I don't know if you saw me post it in your Discord. The last episode of ReZero, I was reminded, oh yeah, I forgot everybody was a fucking racist in this show.
Oh yeah. It's weird.
And I was like, damn, Priscilla of all people too. I thought she was cool. And then she called Amelia like a half devil, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing here. Damn it.
Yeah. It doesn't really come up because like the first season.
I mean, Amelia's been gone for so long, so like. And like, there's no other elves or half elves. So when she came back, and I like how she just ignored it, and I was like, okay, good on you. Don't even pay that any mind. But at the same time, I was like, you were cool until right now. I liked you. Why?
Yeah, because it was like, I didn't like Priscilla for the longest time. I didn't realize how strong she was. But I didn't really like her because she was just like obnoxious royal bitch, essentially. And I was like, but then I started to like her with the whole, fight between
fight with Wrath and how she was interacting with everybody. I was like, okay, not so bad. Not so bad. Never mind racism. No!
Fantasy racism in my Japanese anime. But yeah, so it was just had to remind you. She feels like the Emma Frost of the show. I don't know if anybody cares about that reference, but she just is that hoity-toity, royalty, or like noble born bitch. So I'm not surprised that you say something like that. But okay, the last thing I will say on ReZero, I say that before I start talking some more, is that I honestly I love this season for what it's done for Amelia's character. Amelia has really shown in this season, not as just a love interest for Subaru, not just as a damsel in distress, not just as the royal candidate. She has really shown as her own person with agency, with a lot of interesting stuff going on with her as a character. And she's really fun. She's awesome in a fight. Like, she really it's kind of crazy. Like, when I say Subaru is the normal guy and everybody's like a god tier mage or fighter, she really showed in this season how fucking strong she is. Like, not just with her ice magic, but also with just her physical ability. Like, when she was fighting Wrath and knocked him into the wall and just started
oh, you mean Greed? Yeah, when she started beating the shit out of him, I was like, wow, okay, thanks.
I was like, yo. That was sick. So I was just I I wasn't the biggest fan of Amelia for the longest time because it really just felt like
she did kind of get the short end of the stick at the beginning, where it was like she was fine, like she's like going all the way through. She's like fine as a character. The problem was that Subaru was like unrealistically attached, and then Rem had like an organic development of affection, and then he had to shoot her down for an unrealistic affection for Amelia, and now Amelia is like more fleshed out a little bit, so now it doesn't feel quite as bad for him to like her that way. But at the beginning it was like, why do you like her like that? Like, you don't know anything. Like, and that was, she's just an elf again, which is cool to us.
It's one of the things that, again, ReZero's very well written, because she calls Subaru out on that. She's like, yo, you don't have to fight all my fights for me. You don't have to step up and talk for me. I'm my own person. I can handle this. I'm the one that's in the royal contention. You know, like, you need to calm down. And she puts Subaru in this place. And then when she's going through the trials, it shows Subaru, like, you can't take this from Amelia or you'll ruin her growth as a person. And you see that happen out with the bad end, where she becomes like obsessed with him because all the stuff that he was doing and relying on him too heavily. So Subaru grows as a character, and Amelia becomes an even better character with her own agency. Because that was the biggest problem, is that Subaru would take away Amelia's agency. We're just like, oh, I could do it for you, and I can save you, and I can protect you, and it's like, no, dude, she got it. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I hated Subaru for the longest time. But he's grown and gotten better as a character. Amelia's really gotten to shine as her own person. ReZero's fantastic. Like, it's great. So again, like we already said, very excited for the next season. I really hope that we get it soon. But in the interim, we'll be getting some other anime, and I think Fearon's already announced their next season. So we'll have some really good stuff to hold us over. But it's good to have ReZero back, man. Like, it is so good, dude. It's
just
so
in time for it to end, because it is over now.
It is over. I saw a clip of the last episode, and I was like, dang it. So I guess I only got like an episode or two left, because I caught up during this time period while I didn't have a PC. So I was just like, all right, I'll just watch some anime. And I caught up with ReZero, and I was like, oh, man, it's about to end, ain't it? I mean, obviously, that's good for me, because I got other stuff I got to catch up on, because I'm almost caught up with Shangri-La Frontier as well. It kind of just had like a little lull period.
Which did it again. They made the next game that I also want to play. Their Galactic Hero one, where they have like the hero and villain bar, where it's like a battle royale where it's just like 1v1 battle royale, and then the villain builds up their gauge by doing evil things, and then the hero builds up their gauge by doing good things. And I was like, oh, that sounds so epic. I want to play that game.
Dude, it sucks. Why can't
Shangri-La keep making games that I want to play? Stop it. You already got 3. Stop.
I think I'm right before that part, because what's his name? Monk kid boy that's a professional gamer.
Katsuo.
He was like, oh, yeah. He was like, oh, my partners in this tournament, they're all sick or dealing with real life stuff. So I got to call in the main character in pencil.
Yeah, so he gets to go in, and when he does the trial run, he does like a quick run against Katsuo's like current partner, so that she can see like, his strengths and like what she has to work with. And then when Sunraku was like explaining the game, I was like, oh my god, that sounds so fucking epic.
Oh my god. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying Shangri-La Frontier. It was just the build up towards that, because I stopped on an episode where they introduced the pirate kid. They're like, we got to do another unique scenario, and he was like, we got to get that information from this pirate kid. And he jumped on the table. He's like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't feel like anything's happening. So I stopped watching it that night. I started watching ReZero, but then everybody was like, no, just watch it. You're like 2 episodes away from cool stuff. So I was like, all right, I'll go back. But yeah, I caught up on ReZero, and I've been really, cool. Really enjoying it.
Everything leads to cool stuff. I mean, or funny stuff. It's either cool or funny.
Or funny stuff, indeed. Dude, we've talked about it in the past. I did not expect to like Shangri-La Frontier as much as I did.
Yeah, me neither. Shout out to Resident Nova, who put me on. I was fully ready to not watch it at all. And then whoever, I keep forgetting who animated it, but man, they did a god tier job. The story is good and funny. All the games they come up with, I want to play. That's the whole thing with it. Is like everything that they do is something that I want to play. Like, I just want to do that. Hurry up and make VR games work like that. Damn it.
Yeah, it's so sick. I want to see, because the whole thing with Shangri-La Frontier that's weird to me, but also I love about it, is that there's no there's no real stakes because it's not like one of the, oh, you're trapped in a VR game, you die in the game, you die in real life. They're just literally playing video games. But I love the character so much. I'm having so much fun. You know, Samuraku is so insane, and all the stuff that he's doing. Like the last big thing was that he got the new upgraded Lycagon mark that's still messing with him, but he was testing it out, and he put on some armor, and he was like, you know, just having it on for a while. Then after 3 minutes, it blows up, and so he's like, I can finally wear armor, but only for a temporary amount of time.
So I have a question. I heard this question somebody else ask, and I think it's an interesting topic. Because it's going to have a lot of nuance, and whatever answer you give is probably going to have nuance to it. Would you want AI to invade your games to act like the NPCs in Shangri-La, where they could respond in like realistic ways?
Yes. So it was funny. I was talking about this earlier. And I was like, I don't want to get into this topic. I don't have the energy to argue. But
no arguments here. Okay. This is our controversial take that we. This is the real one. Earlier, it's just Zenshu getting good. This is the real one.
Yeah, this is the real one. So I feel like for AI, because I mean, they already do that. I mean, not that specifically, but AI has been in video games for a while. It's very prevalent in games like, let's say, Fear, where they have an AI system where if you shoot a character in a specific point in their body, they will have a realistic reaction. The characters are also able to recognize certain things. Like if you throw a grenade, they'll realistically try to jump through a window and escape to get away from it. Where in some video games, like Call of Duty, they'll just stand there and get blown up or whatever. Or they'll be like, Grenada! And then they still blow up. But so AI has always been a thing in video games.
I didn't think any of those things were like AI generated at all. Those were just like situationally...
So...
added.
AI has evolved in a way where, because before what it would be is just people would set up code. Like you would write code that would take into account all of the different situations. And that was the AI, is the artificial intelligence of the characters. So essentially like their path and their script and how they react to certain things, you know. So that's what it was used in video games before. Now AI is the Chat GPT, and it's just like, oh, it's these learning algorithms that kind of work on their own. Where it's like, okay, you give it this task, and it generates this code.
That's more what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like the evolution of it from that to now has led to this conversation of, well, we need to regulate this because people are genuinely concerned, and I genuinely think that people should be concerned because, I mean. If you
as long as it's not like taking away from other people, I think that it should be fine. So like if they just like use AI to generate the player models, then probably not. But in response to if I could have a fucking rabbit talk to me like Emu does, then I'll be like, yeah, that's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
I think like what you offered as a solution, I think that is fine. My problem with AI is what's being talked about, you know, currently, is that people are using this is my biggest issue with AI, right? AI art specifically, is that the AI art is learning, the algorithms are learning from actual people's art. So right now, the current trend is the Studio Ghibli AI art that people are doing. I don't like that. That don't sit right with me because you're taking the art style of the studio, you're using their product and their style to, you know, make this art, and then you're just like, look at what I did, but you don't have the right to that. You shouldn't be able to, like, Chat GPT shouldn't be able to be like, we're going to take this studio's art style and just regurgitate it into memes and make a bunch of money from it. Like, people aren't being compensated for it. Then my biggest concern with this stuff is that where AI should be used to make people's lives easier, to make people's jobs easier, is AI assisted tools, which I think is totally fine. It's instead people are using it to try to replace things that shouldn't be replaced, like people who are passionate. It always
comes out like butt cheeks anyway.
Exactly. So you see it like the Studio Ghibli AI art. That's a trend, and we've been seeing that from time to time, where you have the AI art or whatever from the time to time. You'll notice it. People will have hot dog fingers. There was the whole thing where everybody was like making Studio Ghibli AI art of memes. And they did the first time, you know, the like James Franco with the noose around his neck, but they made it Studio Ghibli, ran it through the filter. And the nooses are not around their necks. They're just attached to the back of their head. And it's just like, and the people are using that as like, haha, artists, we're coming for your jobs. Graphic designers, you're not going to have work. And I was like, that's not why we should want AI, not to replace people or to put people down, but people go out of their way to punch down. Artists don't make a lot of money. these animators who are working on these shows are
Why,
doing it.
like, why are you going after them? Like, they already don't make that much.
Trying to fuck their shit up?
They should make more.
They're killing themselves to make the thing that you like, and you're like, well, we're gonna replace you with a robot. And I've seen stupid, empty-headed fucks online like FaZe. Put FaZe in front of any of those dumb niggas' names. They don't know anything. Like, any FaZe person, they're an idiot. But like people like SQC and FaZe, whoever, were like, oh, now I don't have to pay and deal with an artist and commission them for their price or whatever. Like, why is you excited about that? Especially because you're rich. Like, there's people who have a lot of money that are sitting there and be like, yeah, we won't have to pay artists anymore. I'll just be able to type in some prompts and feed it to a computer and it spits out garbage. And I'm just like, why is that the reason why people are excited about AI? Like, that's my problem, is that people will sit up there and be like, yes, I can get my instant gratification, my McDonald'sfication of art, and that's a good thing. And I'm like, no, that's terrible. Why would you want that? Why would you want something that has no soul, no passion, no thought put into it and just give it to you? Like, being able to commission an artist and be like, hey, I have this idea. I want this kind of art. And you tell them what you want. And they take that and they sit down and they think and they put pen to paper and they give you back that art. And it's something that you didn't even think about. I commission art and I don't know anything. Like, I know how to draw or whatever. Like, I draw in my free time, but I'm not like an artist. So when I'm telling people like, hey, I want this, I want that, and then I get something back and I'm like, I didn't even think about it, or like in my mind's eye, this isn't what I even thought it was going to be. You did an amazing job because two people talked and two people's interpretations came together in this collaborative process to make something, and that's awesome. So when people are arguing about AI to fast track, graphic design or using AI to make animated films really fast and really cheap, I'm like, that's terrible, because you're taking out the important part, which is the soul and the spirit of the people who are passionate and wanting to make it. I don't want to watch an AI movie. I saw that opening to Secret Wars that Marvel put out, that an AI opening. It looked like ass.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, they Disney's been using it, and it's like, it looks terrible. I get it. It's easy. I get it. You don't have talent and you can't draw, but you think you deserve to do it. But the disrespect that I've been seeing to the people who have put in their blood, sweat, and tears, thousands of hours of time to make cool shit for you to sit up there and be like, I'm an AI artist, I'm taking commissions, and people are paying you to put out this garbage that's using the work of actual talented people. The words that I want to say will get this podcast destroyed and get me banned off of Twitch. Because it's like, why are you going after the people who are just trying to make things that they love? If you can't draw, then pick up a pen and learn. That's what everybody did. There's no person that's inherently like, I am the art master, I am the art god, I was born with the powers. No, they picked up a pen. They drew
the
Goku.
Prodigy. Wasn't it the dude from Blue Period? Everybody's that guy. Yeah. Figured it out in like a month.
Anybody can do it, but you're lazy and you're lazy and you're worthless. So you want to put down other people who actually put in the time and effort. And that's the thing that bugs me, is how people are talking about it and punching down the artists when artists haven't done anything. Obviously there's gonna be bad people. You're like,
what the fuck happened? What happened? I didn't do anything.
So no, I don't use AI. I think for memes or for assistance and stuff, it's fine. I've used AI to make D&D tokens for D&D one shots, because I'm just like, I can't draw these and I can't make anything. So it's like, all right, people have whatever, and that's about it. I'm just like, that doesn't matter, because I'm not selling anything. I'm not making any money off of this. It's just like, here's a head to be on this little token, whatever. But I'm not a big fan of AI. I don't like how it's being used. There's no protections against it. I know right now SAG-AFTRA, they're working on, obviously negotiating contracts for, because that was the whole thing for a while where people were doing the AI voice stuff. And the voice actors were like, no. We need to have some kind of protections against this, because people are just literally feeding our voice into it. It had that happen to me. Somebody used my voice and fed into AI and it made a song. And it's my voice, it doesn't sound fantastic, but it's my voice saying things that I never said. You know what I mean?
I remember that.
There needs to be checks and balances, because people are garbage and people will do the worst things possible with this. And there needs to be checks and balances, like 100%. AI should be assisting people to make their lives better, not gutting divisions and departments and animation studios and editors and coders and ruining their lives and making them lose their jobs because we can get more of a profit by just having the machines do it. I know people say, like, with the advancement of technology, the automotive system has changed and people aren't working in factories as much. Yeah, but there should be something else that they can do instead of just throwing people to the wind and be like, oh, we don't need a bunch of artists. We can fire people and just have AI, do the cleanup on these shots. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, it should make people's jobs easier. It should make people's work days easier so that they can do their work and make a better product. But people always talk about replacing and not assisting. Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest problem with AI. I don't like it. If it's used in that way to make, like, reactive dialogue with characters and for games, that's cool. Because that makes a better experience and a more lively experience. But
so
if you're going to say,
question
like,
with that part is if you have the AI learn to respond, how do you use it? Like, how do you get the voice actors to keep that role? Because, like, obviously they can't read every line that will ever be created from the AI response system. So do you just not voice it?
Have a contract. Either don't voice it, have a contract where the person is paid for the use of their voice. If that's my biggest thing is, like, consent. If the voice actor is fine with
that's
it,
right. They
and
could
they're
just
being
generate it off their own sound
yeah.
waves.
But that's the thing, is, like, people aren't being compensated for it. They're literally stealing people's voices, people's likeness, people's art styles, and saying, it's mine now.
It's coming back.
I created this.
The earliest thing I can think of that was, like, they had I think it was a Madden game where they just, like, added in the likeness of a bunch of players and then didn't say anything. And they're just like, yeah, by the way, hey, man, you're in Madden 20 or 14 or whatever. And they're like, wait, what?
Because college football players don't have rights to their likeness. They don't get paid. It's terrible. It's disgusting. And that's why I say AI need to be regulated. Because if people can take advantage of you, they're going to.
We're in the Wild West of it right now.
They don't care. You don't matter. You're just meat to make them money. That's it. We all know it. So we need to talk about this seriously. I know everybody's like, hee hee, ha ha, memes, and it can be fun. I mean, Studio Ghibli filter stuff like that could be fun. It would be cute to see myself as a Studio Ghibli character with an afro. But I know how people are going to use it, and people are going to use those memes and those videos and those, like, jokes as a way to justify it. And I think it needs to be said, like, no. We need to look at this seriously, because while it may not directly affect you, like, I'm not an artist, I'm not a graphic designer, I'm not a voice actor. Learn some empathy, man. Like, learn some empathy, because while it's not affecting you now, it can affect you eventually. And you shouldn't be sitting up there with blinders on, watching other people suffer and lose opportunities and lose money and have to struggle, and then have to wait, like, oh, wait, now it's my turn? Now me suffer, care about me. That's what
this wasn't supposed to happen to me.
That's supposed to happen to you. We're seeing that a lot now. So my opinion on AI is this. If it's used responsibly, if it's used to assist, if it's used with the consent of the people who own the intellectual property or their likeness or their voice, cool. As long as people are being compensated for it and they're okay with it, that's okay in my book. But if you're just going to sit up there and be like, well, Studio Ghibli's in Japan, they can't sue me. I'm making a Studio Ghibli film in AI and it looks like dog crap. I would just say that Miyazaki should be able to, I don't know, at least eat one of your livers or something. Like, he should get something out of this.
That's a little random.
Like, people just got to be empathetic, man. Like, all jokes aside, if it's one thing the pandemic taught me is that people do not have empathy. Or empathy is a learned trait, because people just will show you that they just don't care. If it doesn't directly affect them or the people that they know, then they just don't care. The way that people have been talking down to animators and artists who are genuinely concerned about their livelihoods or people stealing their work, which people have done. People have been like, this AI was trained off my art. This is my art style. And people are just like, haha, well, you learn to flip the burgers, put the fries in the bag. And it's just like, what is wrong with you?
But then they yell at him for that too.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, this is a low skill job, and then, that was like, so when it comes to AI, that's my feelings on it. If you differ, or have a different opinion, sure.
No,
But
I feel like
that's
you
how I
summed
feel
it
on
up pretty good. I wasn't expecting the tirade,
This is why I told
but I was
people
I was just
earlier.
vibing. I was letting you go off. It's accurate. It's accurate. It's true and real. It's true and real.
Again, I'm not an artist. I make content for fun. I draw for fun. It's not how I pay my bills. But if I looked at somebody and
And
they
that
were
is
an
how they pay their
animator,
bills, then
yeah, and then people are like, I get AI generated Looney Tunes movie. I'm like, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? Especially now where there's again, like I said, these studios don't value the artists that are making the things that they make their money off of. Because then you have like the Day the Earth Blew Up, which is a new Looney Tunes film that's out in theaters right now that Warner Brothers kept in a vault for years and just like, whatever, we'll just sell it. So some production company, I think they're called Ketchup and Mustard Productions or something like that, or the Ketchup Production, they bought the rights to it, did a limited studio release, and the movie is amazing. Everybody who's seen the movie, from the reviews I've seen, said like the animation is gorgeous, one of the best animated films of all time, really funny, really interesting. Like, it's cool to see the animated art form being used like this, and nobody's watching it because nobody knows it exists, because Warner Brothers is just like, we don't care. Like, I don't know what's going on with Warner Brothers, but they're like tanking everything. And just watching people who like, when things like this happen, my biggest concern, and you see the anime all the time, is that the really, really talented people, they lose their passion for it and then they leave. Because how can you expect people to continue to suffer and not be able to pay bills and barely make ends meet while killing themselves 18 hours a day, making the things that we enjoy, and then just be like, but you're replaceable. AI gonna come take your job. We're gonna get AI Jujutsu Kaisen season 3. And expect these people to stay doing it. And then that's when you lose all these talented animators and directors and storyboarders, and they just leave, and then you get worse products. You get garbage like X-Arm. You get really bad stuff. And you're even seeing it now. I talked about it in the past, and I'll get off of this and I'll end it here, but a lot of people were upset about the way the JJK ended. And I won't go into the details. But the most disrespectful thing that I saw was Jujutsu no Kaisen. Whereas these fans who were like, we're going to do the ending of JJK right. We're going to actually give everybody what they want. And they released their first chapter, and the art is garbage. The dialogue is AI generated. Some of the art is AI generated, and it looks like garbage. Do you want the anime that we got by Mappa, animated well by people who are passionate, people who are going through horrendous working like schedules and horrendous working like situations, because people know how bad it is working Mappa, but they love their love for the game is so strong that they're making one of the best shows ever. You want that, or you want that to go away and then say we get Jujutsu no Kaisen? We get that? Like, that's what y'all want? Because that's what the AI bros want. They want to just feed you garbage and you eat it up, just like McDonald's. I had McDonald's recently. That don't even taste like food no more, man. I don't know what kid me was talking about. I had a double cheeseburger. I was like, what is this?
Like, their fries used to be crack, at least. I don't know if they are anymore.
I used to love McDonald's. It does not taste like food. Every time I eat McDonald's now, because I have a young sister, so I'll like take her down. I was like, all right, I'll get something. It literally falls into the pit of my stomach. And I was like, this don't feel like food. And I just get sick. So anyway, I don't want that. I want people who love this shit to be able to be rewarded, paid, compensated for their love of the game. Otherwise, we get garbage. AI is proceeding like very fast, and it's getting better and better every single day. But it ain't a person. It ain't a person with a soul. You know what I mean? And that's what's important.
The same.
Yeah, and
at the end of the day, AI can only use what has already been made, and
exactly.
Creators nowadays can come up with anything.
Yeah. So, and the thing is that even if AI got so good to where you can make an AI film and it looked just like a studio or whatever, I still wouldn't want to watch it, because the thing about art isn't necessarily the product. Why people go to art like showcases, because they know that there's a story behind why that thing was created. Naruto was created because Kishimoto had a falling out with his brother. And so he told his story of his brotherly relationship through the art form of manga and anime with Naruto and Sasuke. A computer's not going to have that.
That's how Pokemon was made too.
Yeah,
the original creator of Pokemon just liked nature stuff, so he just started making creatures like that, and then that's how Legend of Zelda came up. Is the guy just liked to explore new things
in his forest? Yeah, and then like SpongeBob was created because Steven Hillenburg was a marine biologist, and he just loved the animation and underwater creatures and how interesting the underneath the sea is. Like,
what do you like, Mr. AI? What are you gonna make for me?
Yeah, you can't get that. You can't get that with AI. I'm just saying it. So that's my feelings on the matter. I don't really like it. I'm not like going to demonize anybody. Like, I made a Studio Ghibli thing, and I'm just like burn them with fire. I don't care. Like, I don't think that we should talk about it that way. But I think we should be open and honest. And that's just my personal feelings on it. But you guys can let us know what you feel about the current season of anime that just dropped in the spring of 2025, or your feelings on AI and how you feel like it's progressing and what we should do and if we should be concerned about it. You can let us know in the comments below and join the conversation. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, give us a thumbs up, give us a like and subscribe. I know it's old and tired and tired out, but you really help us out immensely by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to push this out to other people so that they can also enjoy the podcast as well. And we really appreciate it. If you're on the audio side of things, give us a review. That helps as well. We really appreciate it. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you're enjoying it. It only will make the podcast even better. But I really want to thank everybody for listening. We are back in full effect in the weekly grind. And I hope you guys didn't miss us too much. But we'll see you guys next week for the 49th episode of DNAnime Podcast. We're almost to the big 5-0 bits.
Almost there.
And we'll see you guys then.
Bye.